Hey guys, Samo here. Thanks for checking out the channel and its contents. And if you feel like it, please do subscribe. Thanks so much. Enjoy the video. Bye.
Just a world-class player and also a teacher and an innovator and has such a wonderful outlook on music. It's really helped me tremendously. That's why I purchased 10 books, okay, in addition to the one I got last year for everyone that I know. And I was hoping you could talk for a moment about how you came to, first how you started to play, which I think is very interesting and informs your whole style.
Sure.
And then second, what exactly inspired you to write the book?
Okay, all right. I'm the youngest of 5 brothers. I'm the youngest. And all my brothers play music. My oldest brother, Reggie, he's 8 years older than me. So for 5 brothers, we're all pretty close in age. My oldest brother, Reggie, plays guitar. Roy, who now they call him Future Man, because he's crazy. No, in the best sense of the word, he just invents stuff. That's light years ahead of all of us, you know. Anyone that's seen him play, you understand. He's a drummer. Then Rudy, the brother that most people don't even know about, he's a sax player. And when we were growing up, he was our horn section. We play them 2 at a time. And for any horn players out there, Rudy uses an alto and a C melody. It's a horn, they don't even make it anymore. But that C and A gives a minor chord, so he can play all these minor horn. So we used to play all the horn bands back in the 70s when Earth, Wind and Fire, Chicago, the horns. He was the horn section. And then there's Joseph, who plays keyboards. And around the time I was born, from what I hear, Reggie realized that if we had a bass player in the family, we'd have a complete band. So that became me right away. And they started getting me ready to play music. Before the short period we have is over, I want to get into the process of how they taught me to play or didn't teach me to play, which is kind of really more important. Because when it comes to music, the whole reason behind this book, first people were asking me about it. They wanted me to write a book, and I felt they wanted me to write a book that I didn't want to write, which was an instruction manual. I didn't want a manual. She said, I don't want the Victor Wooten method. You know, and I'll get into that in a minute. But to me, music is a language. And for me growing up, I was learning to speak English, and I was learning to speak music at the same time. But more importantly, I was learning to speak it in the same way, in the same manner. The way I was taught or not taught was identical. So I've always looked at music as a language. And I really haven't met a musician who doesn't agree that music's a language. But it's rare that I meet a musician that treats music like a language. And so what does that really mean? If any of us, parents or whatever, have a child and we want that child to, let's say, play piano, right, become a pianist. For the most part, what's our first thought as a parent? What's the first thing we're going to do for that child? Yeah, give them some lessons. Exactly. And it's a good thing to do because it works. They get good. All right? But since my first language is English, I'm going to use English as my example. If you have a child and you want that child to grow up speaking English, what's your first thought? What do? Talk to them. And you let everyone else talk to them. All right? You don't think, who can I send them to practice a few hours a week? The kid would be 20 before he could speak. So now I'm giving you an idea of music versus the language. So if we could take the language approach and apply it to music, and I want my child to learn to play piano using a language approach, what would I do?
Play the piano.
Play the piano with the child. But the thing is that with us parents, you think that you have to play good. And you don't. Anybody ever buy their kids a video game? A Wii or Xbox or anything like that? Do you know how to play it? But before you can unwrap it, they're playing games. You don't have to teach them a thing. You have to make it available to them and make sure they know it's okay to do it. In music, it's not okay. You have to do it my way. If I say play a C major scale, you better play it right. And that closes the kid off. A kid will not be as creative because they're afraid of being wrong. So let's go back to the language approach. We talk to the kids, right? The important things are the kids are allowed to talk back, right or wrong. And when they're first starting, do we ever correct them? No. The kid has been speaking 2, 3, 4 years before we ever correct them. Think about that. We let them freely communicate for years before we ever correct them. To the point that if they're saying a word wrong, these little kids are saying whatever word is and they're messing it up, what do we do as parents? We don't correct them. We start saying it their way. We join them. So they're made to feel good, free, freedom of expression. That's the foundation of their whole being. They're free. And for the most part, we don't allow that music. And we don't realize we're doing it, but we're building up walls that separate that person from music. And there's a lot of things in the middle, including the instrument. The instrument sounds like this. Every instrument you ever listen to sounds exactly like this. Listen. That's what they all sound like. So why does it sound beautiful or not when a person touches it? That should let you know right away where the music's coming from. When you're speaking, you have an instrument, right? Who cares about it? When I'm listening to you, am I listening to your lips? Are you talking lips? You know, are you talking diaphragm? No. Then why are you playing when you talk? Shouldn't you be playing music? Isn't it more important what you're saying than what you're saying it with? But of course you have to have control over your instrument in order to freely express. So the techniques and all that thing are important. But the problem is that we mistake the techniques and the tools as music. And so that's another thing that's in between us and music. So my brothers, really quick to get to Tessa's question, my brothers, we were living in Hawaii at the time. They'd set up either in the house or in the front yard. And they'd start playing, and there would be a chair with a little empty stool with a tiny plastic Mickey Mouse guitar. And you could wind it up, and it would play this little tune, right? But the plastic strings were like fishing wires, and you really couldn't play notes out of it. But my brothers were concerned with that. They just presented an opportunity for me to play with them. Did they say, you know, you got to do this, you got to pick it up, and here's what we're going to play? No. You don't do that when the baby's in the room. You don't tell them what you're going to talk about and tell them what to say. No. You just let them jam, to use a musical phrase. You let them jam. And as babies, when we're jamming through the talking, we're talking to professionals all the time. So a baby learns a language easily because who they're jamming with are experts at it. And the experts aren't correcting them. So there's no walls being built up. You're just allowed to freely express. So I was allowed to do that on the whatever instrument they gave me. So they're playing and I'm just strumming on. Right? Feeling the music, not the instrument. Right? If he told me you gotta place your finger here, you gotta put your finger there, now my attention goes here. But that's not music. Music's out here. So they put an instrument in my hands, so unconsciously I'm connected to an instrument, but my main focus is where it's supposed to be, on the music. For most of us, the more we learn about music, the less we really approach it. We start approaching the instrument. Right? So my mind is still out here. I'm listening to the drums, keyboards, and I start learning, like a kid learning English or any language. I'm learning all about music. I'm learning everything about music except the notes. The notes were the last thing. It's like a kid who listens to the radio. They can't play the song, but they know it. Can't you sing every Michael Jackson song, every Beatles song? But if you pick up your instrument, you have to figure it out. But the instrument's in the way. A singer doesn't have to figure it out. A dancer doesn't have to figure it out. If I say, let's dance, you're not going to say, well, what key are we in? Only musicians have to ask that. And as musicians, we study and study, and the more we study, the more questions we have to ask before we can play. So are we getting closer to music or further away? No. Think about it. A dancer just dances. You don't have to know anything about it. So I knew what it meant as a baby. I knew what it meant if the drummer opens up his hi-hat at the end of a phrase. That means something. A snare drum on beat 1 when they're normally on beat 2 and 4. Why is a snare on 1? That's a signal of something. I was learning this. So by the time I was 3 or 4, Reggie took 2 strings off of one of his guitars. And he left the lower 4, and that became my bass. So finally, he starts telling me, put your finger there. And he would show me where to play one note. One. And then they would play a song in that key. I don't have to focus on one note. But really, there's only one. Just move it around. Why do you got to teach me 12? Teach me 1. And I'll play that one note here when we go to the bridge. That's easy. Who can't play one note? But if I'm going to teach you 12 in the beginning, already I'm confused. One note, and then they surrounded me with music. They added to this. Like when you dance, you close your eyes, the music surrounds you. You just feel it, you spin around. A lot of times when we play, we think the music hits. But the music surrounds you, if you allow it to. So they would put me on one note, and then they'd play a song I already knew. I knew the songs already. But what they were starting to do now was teach me how to play the bass. I already knew how to play music. Like a baby knows how to speak English before they can speak a word. Let me put it this way. They understand English before they can ever say a word. Right? Because a lot of us think that language is words. It's much more than that. What does it mean when your mom raises the pitch of her voice? Or your dad lowers the pitch of his? You know these things. You don't have to understand the language. I mean, you don't have to understand the word. If someone's excited in any language, you know it. If someone's sad in any language, you know it. If you go to a foreign country and you have to find a bathroom, you don't have to speak the language. You'll get your point across. Really. Because it's more than just words. But when we teach music, we only teach words. We teach you notes. And that's it. We call it theory. We call it music theory, and we say it's really cool and hip. But it's limited. We teach you scales, which is notes. We teach you modes, which is just scales starting from a different note. Right? It's like saying you're going to be a good English speaker once you learn the alphabet. No, that's not true. So how are you going to be a good musician once you learn scales? Scales is not music, no more than the alphabet is a word. Right? So us teachers in music, we teach you notes. We teach you scales, modes, chords, which is notes put together. We teach you harmony, which is notes. Right? But there's a whole lot more to it than that. There's dynamics. How loud or how soft you feel. Right? As I start talking, the softer you hear the whole room. That's all it is. If I talk louder, the kids will get louder, you'll fidget, everything will start getting louder. There's a benefit to all of it, but you need to understand it as a musician. We understand it as when we're speaking verbally. There's dynamics. There's feel. How the music feels. Is it reggae? Is it jazz? Is it swing? Is it hip-hop? Is it ska? Or feel. How do I feel? Or even more so, how do you feel? And can I change how you feel with my music? I can do it with my words. Can I do it with my music? There's tone. Anybody that plays an electric guitar or bass has a tone knob, and none of us know how to use it. We know that when we turn it, it does something. But what does it do to the music? What does it do to the listener? If you go into a nightclub, right? Anybody ever go out to the disco? What are they using that makes everybody dance? Bass? Right. And what? Right. So bass in what way? You mean like the rhythm? The tone. Absolutely. That's why they have big subwoofers. Because the tone that makes you want to dance is low. It's a low tone. Now bass players need to know that. Really, any musicians here need to know it. But a person who runs a nightclub knows it. To get people to dance, they need to shake the room. So you can be leaning up against the wall like the gentleman over here and upset. Now, I'm not dancing. But the wall's shaking you from the inside out. And before you know it, the people who built the club know that. Right? A lot of people might think it's the rhythm, the song, the alcohol, or the pretty women or men that are there that makes you want to dance. And that adds to it. But guarantee you this, if the subwoofers blow up, no more dancing. Same women, same, you can be just as inebriated, same music, tone changes, dance floor clear. That's why you go to a convenience store. Do they ever have, you hear the music playing in a convenience store or outside? Is it ever good speakers? Absolutely not, because they don't want you to hang around. I'm serious. They don't want you loitering. They'll pump horrible music through horrible speakers outside so nobody hangs around 7-Eleven. They don't want you to hang around outside. They're using tone. Now how come they know and musicians don't? There's rhythms, there's phrasing, there's space. When not to play. Who practices not to? And it's important. We practice playing notes, but we don't practice playing space. And you don't have more than one note without space between it. So wouldn't it make sense to understand the space between the notes? The only difference between a quarter note and an eighth note is the space between it. No, there's not a DVD out there on space. In music, anyway. There's no instructional book that'll teach you how to play rest.
At what point did you realize that this kind of book was necessary?
Well, when people started asking me, and again, I didn't want to write it because I knew people wanted a manual. Well, I felt right. I could have been wrong. That people wanted a manual, a how-to. And it would be like me writing an English manual, and here's how you speak. No way. Well, you don't need it. It's all around you. You just got to pay attention to what's around you. But people kept asking for it. I was doing workshops. After I became, people started knowing me from the Bailiff and Reflect-On. They started asking for it. And then I started teaching camp. And those students were asking for it. And I stayed away from it. Until I was in a friend of mine's car, and he had just purchased a book by Richard Bach called Illusions. And as a kid, it was one of my favorite books. And I was glancing through his book. I remember sitting there reading it and thinking, man, I could probably write this book now. I remember reading it young and just thinking through those ideas. I could probably write it. And I went, that's what I should do. Because that story was a story of a teacher and a student flying airplanes together. So I thought, why not just write, what do you call it? A fable? Parable. Just write a parable. And call it fiction. Then I can put anything in it. And I don't have to defend any of it. Because we're already starting from the standpoint that none of this is true. I like that. I use an example. We go see Star Wars, and we don't have to argue over whether Darth Vader's really Luke's father or what Yoda said. We don't argue over it because it's not true. So I like that. Not to put anything in it. So I started writing, and I knew exactly what I wanted to say already. So the book came about pretty quickly. It was just how to put it from the first chapter to the end in a cohesive way so that the story continues. But each chapter of the book, instead of calling them chapters, we call them measures. So each measure is on a different topic of music. There's one on notes, on groove, on technique, on listening, on articulation, on feel. Each chapter of the book is on that. But it's done in different ways. It's done in different ways. In my opinion, our best teacher is nature. Is nature. You know what? I'm going to play you something in a minute, but I want to do something really quick. Because I saw we have this board up here. Watch this really quick. I'm going to try to do it just fast. Everybody know this? It's okay. Okay. All right. That says music. Somebody give me words to describe music. Anybody?
Joy.
Joy.
Beautiful.
R-H-Y. I always have trouble with that. Okay. Emotion. Emotion. I'm just going to take a few. Keep going.
Rhythm.
What is it?
Rhythm.
That's their rhythm.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Invisible.
Okay, hold on.
Groove.
Okay, 1 second. Invisible.
Melody.
Thank you. What else?
Atmosphere.
Groove.
Love.
Okay, hold on. Love. Melody. Omnipresent.
Energy.
Energy. Okay, let's just stop there. We can keep going all day. When I run camps in Tennessee, I call it a bass nature camp or a music nature camp. Because I like nature, and I want to explain something here in a minute. Give me some words to describe nature. Serene. Serene. Is that S-E-R-E-N?
Angry.
Angry. And I missed one.
Color.
Color. Beautiful. I apologize for my handwriting. What was it?
Peaceful.
Peaceful. Green. Green.
Alive.
Alive. Okay. Pure. Pure.
Violent.
Okay, 1 second. Violent. Couple more.
Spiritual.
Spiritual, okay. One more.
Light and dark.
Like what?
Light and dark.
What was it?
Light and dark.
Oh, light and dark, okay. All right. Okay. Nature, serene, angry, color, beautiful, peaceful, green, alive, pure, sustaining, violent, spiritual, light, and dark. Everybody cool with any of these? Anything else that has to be up there? Or we need to take off? We're cool? Music, joy, rhythm, emotion, beautiful, invisible, groove, love, melody, omnipresent, energy. Cool with these words? Do we need to add anything or take anything off?
Freedom.
Freedom? Is that what someone said?
Yeah.
Over here with music? Freedom. Okay? You good? Okay. Nature, joy, rhythm, emotion, beautiful, invisible, groove, love, melody, omnipresent, energy, freedom. Any problem with any of those words? Any questions? Music, serene, angry, like that. Color, beautiful, peaceful, green, alive, pure, sustaining, violent, spiritual, light and dark. Any questions or comments or problems? So basically we're talking about the same thing. Right? And you made the connection. Those are your words, not mine. Alright? So music and nature, we're talking about the same thing. But here's the thing. Alright? And I'm going to do this quickly. But I just got inspired by having this board here today. When we want to become good at something, for me playing music, I want to do it naturally. I don't want to have to concentrate, focus, work hard. I want it to be natural. And whatever it is you're doing, talking, driving, you want to be natural at it, right? Well, natural means having the characteristics of nature, being like nature. That's where the word comes from. So in a sense, think about this. We are all trying to be like nature. You don't have to consciously understand, know that, but that's what we're all trying to do. No one has to teach a tree how to grow. How does a robin learn its song? Music school. And why does the robin in California and the one in North Carolina sing the same song? Who teaches it? How does a squirrel know how to build a nest? They're natural. And that's what we're all trying to become. We're all trying to be like nature. So I looked up nature and music and a bunch of things in the dictionary and found some wonderful things. We're all trying to be natural to the point that when someone is really good at something, what do we call them? A natural. He's a natural. So musicians do the exact opposite thing to get good at being like nature. Is they go into what we call the woodshed and practice. So we close ourselves off from the thing we're trying to become. We lock ourselves in the room for hours a day to become natural. Backwards. Imagine you're trying to learn English, so you sit in a room all day. Won't practice it. You'll learn it. It'll just take you 20 years. And when you come out of the room, you'll have an accent. We hear it musically all the time. So, if you get out in the world, surround yourself with whatever it is you're trying to learn, you'll learn it quickly. That's the natural process. That is the natural process. This is the last thing I want to add. And the dictionary showed me this. Dictionary, when you look up a word, it'll show you like prefixes and suffixes, things like that. So I looked up the word nature and it showed me naturally. I looked up the word music and it showed me musically. But they had music dash ally. Music dash ally. Whoa. If I play musically, I become an ally to music. If I live or act naturally, I become an ally to nature. And if I don't watch my human nature, I may have to face the music. Dictionary shows me. All right? I look up the word natural and it's talking about nature, but then it also says without sharps or flats. The dictionary was telling me that music and nature are the same thing. So I just say that because if we use nature and follow her process, you learn things quickly, which is why we all learn to speak quickly. Does that make sense? I don't claim to be right about any of this. I don't claim to be wrong about anything. But I just give you things that'll jumpstart your thinking process. Because in my opinion, the way we study music could use rethinking.
You know, I can't believe our hour's almost up.
Is it?
Anya, we don't move it over. You can stay all day. We can stay all day. So, play again, after all, that's why you can. But isn't it nice to find someone who's articulate about music? I mean, I just love it. And I have to say, repeat customer. Is there a repeat customer, David, John? From Harbor City yesterday. We had largely a youth audience yesterday, about 80 kids, right? And he took the young man, Joseph, up, who played the guitar, and he had Joseph play a tune for about 2 minutes. And Joseph was a reasonably competent young guitarist, but obviously very nervous, and but decent. And then Victor talked to him, and inside of 5 minutes, walked him through some mental, readjustments. He played again, and it was stunning. I'm getting chills just thinking about it right now. Now, someone captured it on video, and they're going to send that to us, and we're going to post it. And I hope they got the before and after. I think they did. It was just stunning. It was like night and day. Because Victor says, I come from sort of a classical background where you don't want to make mistakes. Everybody knows all of the rock, and all that. And they know it so well that they know when you screw up. But Victor says so eloquently, for every wrong note, there's a right note, the right of it and to the left of it. And then he demonstrated yesterday how
Sure.
And then you can riff on that idea for
Okay.
another half hour.
In the book, like I said, instead of chapters, we call them measures. At the beginning of each measure, there's actually a handwritten measure of music. And so if you take all the chapters, I think maybe 13 or so, I'm going to take all the chapters and take all those measures that are handwritten, put them together, you get a song. And that song actually was on my latest CD. The book and my latest CD came out the same day. And the song that's written in the book, you can actually hear.
Parents stop in our days, and then we've got older people and people of all shapes and sizes and ages. I mean, music is such a universal language.
Absolutely.
It's just such a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
So, anyway, you know, you can just give Victor a word, you can talk for an hour. So, I'd love if you could repeat what you mentioned yesterday about the wrong note and how playing the
Sure.
wrong note is okay.
Absolutely.
It's done with emotion. I love that.
Absolutely. I'll try to do it quickly because I know we're running out of time. And quickly, sometimes quick is a problem of mine. I gotta work on it. But I found that with musicians, after working and teaching, I don't even like to say the word teach, but when working with musicians, what I found is that most of our issue has to do with playing the wrong note. And what I think you're going to think once I do it. For most of us, a mistake means I played the wrong note. But in a sense, there really are no wrong notes. There are notes I didn't mean to play. But it doesn't mean that it's wrong. And some of the times, if I listen back to a recording of myself, some of the best things I played were mistakes. All right, how many notes are there in our Western style of music? How many? 12. How many are in a given key? 7. There's always 7 notes in the key, which is over half. So even if I don't know anything and I guess what note I'm right more than half the time. So if you can envision a piano keyboard, let's say I'm in the key of C major. What that means on a piano keyboard is just the white keys, all the white keys. So I'm allowed to play in C major all the white keys. But if I happen to, by accident, land on a black key, what's on either side of it? A white key. Now how about if I go to the next black key? What's on either side of that? So how many black keys are there? 5. What's on either side? Either side of all 5 of those black keys are white. That means you're never more than a half step away from a right note. Ever. 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 But here's the thing. It's those black notes that's going to make the music sound interesting. And those are the ones we'll spend a lifetime learning to avoid. How many people practice scales? Okay? All right, I'm going to be bold. I'm going to tell you a scale you don't practice. I'm not psychic, but I know I'm right. For 90% of you that practice scales, here's a scale you don't practice. Which one is it? It's the easiest and the hardest. Which one is it? The chromatic scale. The chromatic scale. All that means is every note. Play all 12. It's like practicing the alphabet in sections. And thinking it's going to make you better. If you can play all 12 notes, let me put it this way. If you can use all 12 notes, don't you think it's easier to use only 7? Think about it. Chromatic. What's the root word of chromatic? Chroma. What's chroma mean? You want to add color to your playing? Play the chromatic scale. It's telling you that. But we take the color out in order to be as how it feels, not what it is. Now, of course, I'm going to play the right notes as much as possible. But my whole life, from here on out, I'm going to hit wrong notes. Either on purpose or by accident. So I might as well make them feel good. If I make them feel good, they go over your head. You don't care. You keep dancing. And you pay to come see me. I mean, I'm joking, but I'm serious at the same time. So the real thing is just make every note feel good. And don't worry about messing up, because no one in the audience cares if you mess up. I think they secretly would rather you mess up and pull through. And I use the example of when you ever watch somebody going across a tightrope in a circus. And what do when they get to the middle, over the most dangerous part where there's no net? They go, and your heart's like, right? they could just walk straight across if they wanted and not wobble. But if they wobble, you get excited. And if they don't fall, you give them a standing ovation. Or if the person walked straight through with no wobbles, you applaud. But you want emotion. You want to be moved. You want to feel what someone's doing. Not just watch it, not just listen to it. You want to feel it. And so there's ways of forcing that audience to feel what you're doing by wobbling sometimes. And if you wobble on purpose or not on purpose, don't worry about it. The audience really doesn't care if you mess up. And secretly, they like for you to. But they want to see you pull up. They don't want to see you falling down. They want to see you pull through. You do that, you get a standing ovation. That's even better than a perfect routine, in my opinion. Yeah. Now, there's times for perfect. If you're doing it for a judge, the Olympics, and they want that, that's what you do it for. But even when I'm watching the Olympics, someone does a perfect routine, but what they're going to show on the news over and over is when someone messes up. And when someone messes up and still lands perfectly, you give them a standing ovation. Sure. I'll play it. All right. I guess I'll play one more. And I want to point out this. I asked you for words for music, and we came up with bunches of them. But check this out. Notice that nobody said notes, scales, theory, modes, techniques, slapping, tapping, right? A lot of guitar players and bass players, no one even mentioned the word bass or guitar when we said, what is music? All right? So all those other words, why do you think of that when it's time to play? To you, it's not music. But that's what you put at the forefront of your mind, something that's not even music to you. If this is what music is, that's what should be in the forefront of your mind every time you play. Once you do that, that's what your audience will hear. And music becomes easy. That's all I did with Joseph yesterday. I had him stop thinking of the guitar. Because the guitar doesn't make music. I had him put his mind on where music is. And all of a sudden, he was a world-class guitar player. And it just took a few minutes.